Have you ever met a Karen who acts like she's the queen of the entire neighborhood? Well, buckle up, because today's story features exactly that kind of person, a self-important woman from the local HOA who decides to take on a peaceful farmer and ends up learning a harsh lesson in humility. This post comes from the subreddit r/EntitledPeople, where users share their real-life encounters with individuals who believe the world revolves around them. In this particular tale, our narrator is a hard-working landowner running a farm that has existed for generations, peacefully coexisting with nature and nearby residents. However, trouble begins to brew when a newly arrived resident, a so-called Karen, joins the Homeowners Association and instantly assumes she has authority over everything and everyone in the area, including the farm. She begins a campaign of complaints, threats, and ultimately a misguided police call, convinced that the farm is somehow subject to HOA rules. What follows is a satisfying tale of overconfidence, public embarrassment, and sweet, poetic karma. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this clash between country common sense and suburban entitlement, where the outcome is as rewarding as it is hilarious. The storyteller owns and lives on a peaceful farm that has been in the family for decades, located right on the edge of a rapidly expanding suburban development. The land is rich, the work is honest, and the lifestyle, though demanding, is deeply rewarding. This farm isn't some corporate operation with loud machinery running 24/7, it's a modest homestead with a few chickens, a vegetable garden, a couple of goats, and the occasional use of a trusty old tractor. Life moves at a steady pace, grounded in routines shaped by nature's rhythm. But everything starts to shift when a brand new housing development sprouts up right next door, complete with cookie-cutter homes, perfectly manicured lawns, and the ever-dreaded HOA Homeowners Association. Among the residents of this new community is a woman who quickly becomes infamous among her neighbors, Karen. With her short bob haircut, clipboard, and permanent scowl, she seems to live for the HOA meetings and rules. Almost immediately after moving in, she sets her sights on the neighboring farm, convinced that it somehow diminishes the aesthetic integrity of her suburban utopia. The first complaint comes just days after she moves in. Karen marches down the gravel path that leads to the farmhouse, high heels sinking into the earth, demanding that the farmer do something about the rooster because it crows too early and disrupts her meditation. The farmer politely explains that roosters do what roosters do and that the farm has been here long before her gated community even existed. That should have been the end of it. But with Karen, it was only the beginning. Next, she complains about the odor of manure used in the fields, as if natural fertilizer is some sort of personal attack on her senses. Then comes the noise complaint about the tractor, despite the fact that it's only used during the day and not even every day. Karen seems to believe that her new home should come with veto power over all things within her line of sight or smell, regardless of property lines or legal boundaries. She continues her campaign with increasing aggression, dropping off written notices, citing obscure HOA guidelines, and even threatening legal action. She argues, with complete confidence, that the farm must comply with HOA rules, despite the fact that the farm is not within HOA jurisdiction. The boundary is clear, but Karen's sense of entitlement is even clearer. The farmer, experienced in both hard labor and neighborly nonsense, remains calm and firm. He knows the law is on his side. He's got zoning permits, land use rights, and years of precedent supporting him. But Karen doesn't take no for an answer. When her warnings and demands are ignored, she takes things up a notch. One bright morning, with the rooster crowing in the background and the farmer repairing a fence post, a police car pulls up to the edge of the property. Karen stands triumphantly beside it, arms crossed, expecting justice to be served. The officers approach, respectful but curious. Karen launches into a dramatic monologue about how the farm is violating HOA noise ordinances, how she suspects illegal dumping of waste, and how the tractor is an eyesore that might reduce property values. The officers listen patiently, then turn to the farmer, who calmly provides his paperwork. He explains the farm's legal status, its position outside HOA boundaries, and the complaints he's received. The officers inspect the property briefly, note that everything appears in order, and inform Karen that no laws are being broken. In fact, they subtly warn her that misusing emergency services for non-criminal matters can have consequences. Karen's face turns red, her voice rises, and she begins arguing with the officers themselves, insisting they do their jobs and protect her rights. But the officers have heard enough. They don't arrest her, but they do give her a formal warning. They suggest she avoid further harassment or risk being fined for wasting public resources. Karen, humiliated and flustered, storms back to her home. But the story doesn't end there. Word spreads quickly throughout the HOA community. Other residents, already annoyed by Karen's self-righteous behavior and her tendency to micromanage their lawns and trash bins, start voicing their disapproval. Complaints pour into the HOA board about Karen's behavior, particularly her attempt to extend HOA authority beyond its legal boundaries and harass a legitimate business and property owner. Eventually, the HOA is forced to act. A formal vote is held, and Karen is removed from her position on the board due to abuse of power and conduct unbecoming of a community leader. The very system she tried to weaponize turns its back on her. Stripped of her imagined authority and now a pariah in her own neighborhood, Karen retreats into the background, avoiding eye contact and HOA meetings alike. Meanwhile, the farm continues to thrive. The rooster still crows. The tractor still rumbles. The fields still get fertilized, and fresh produce still makes its way to the local market. The farmer carries on with his life, unfazed and even a little amused by the drama. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't retaliate. He simply stood his ground, let the facts speak for themselves, and watched karma do its job. The story is a simple but powerful reminder: just because you think you're in charge doesn't mean you are. And sometimes, the more you push your luck, the faster it runs out. For Karen, the lesson came hard and fast. For the rest of us, it's a satisfying tale of entitlement being checked and rural peace triumphing over suburban pettiness.